Today we're talking about some of the best newly released travel tech and gadgets. I'm in the middle of a bunch of trip planning right now, so it is top of mind. Really excited for this one. Let's get into it. First up, we have the brand new Apple AirPods Pro 3. As of recording this, I've had these for exactly 1 month. I've taken them on one big trip, and I have some mixed thoughts on these overall, but it's mostly good news. They seem to have increased the V curve on the EQ, and that has really annoyed a lot of people. I can definitely hear and appreciate the extra sub bass from these. There are a few frequencies that I definitely was not hearing on my AirPods Pro 2, but that does come at a cost. I feel like some of the higher range bass notes feel a little muted. The highs sound really present and bright, but they're not fatiguing at all. The mids feel okay, but could be a little bit more prominent and stronger for my taste. Overall, this just leads to a bit of a different sound. I don't think it's a complete disaster like some people are making it out to be. If you're not really picky, you might not even notice, but coming from me, who reviews and checks a lot of these different headphones, they're different, but not necessarily any better or worse. The big upgrade here this year, though, is the noise canceling. I was absolutely blown away by how incredible the noise canceling performs here. I just got back from a trip to Virginia and DC last week. I got to bring these with me on the plane for an extended 5-hour flight test each way, as well as using them on the very loud trains with DC's metro system. It performed wonderfully. While I was on the trip, I saw someone from Reddit do this. You can actually check the decibel levels on your Apple Watch Ultra. I did that and it'll show with or without the AirPods. It went from 75 dB down to 45 dB. I thought that was pretty incredible. A 30 decibel reduction. That's kind of the equivalent of a library versus being next to a vacuum. Transparency mode, on the other hand, is a bit of a downgrade in my opinion. That is my absolute favorite thing about the Pro 2s, aside from just the Apple ecosystem type of stuff. The transparency mode is so far ahead of every other headphone that I test for the channel here. It's still the best option out there for transparency, but I think because you have a much better seal that leads to that better noise canceling, I think you're left with a little bit of a tinnier sound with the transparency mode. The updated fit was the other big divisive thing here, depending on the person. Personally, for me, I think they fit even better. I really love these new tips as well. It's kind of a best of both worlds thing for me. I always swapped out the silicone tips on the Pro 2s for foam tips from Comply. This kind of gives you the best of both. So it's really satisfying. I absolutely love the fit. That's just going to vary on a person-to-person type of thing. Battery life has also been really good for me. They lasted on that 5.5-hour flight coming back from DC, plus the time in the airport. So it was probably closer to 7 hours without needing to put them in the case. So I could keep the noise canceling on the entire time and it performed perfectly. The case itself apparently has a shorter battery lifespan, but you have more battery in the buds, and that's definitely what matters most for travel type of stuff. Looking at the total package here, it's kind of a tough call. If active noise canceling is your #1 priority and that is what trumps everything else, these are a must get. Otherwise, I think you're probably better off sticking with the Pro 2s if you already have those, or looking at some other options that provide better sound quality that aren't from Apple. Lots of good options out there, but these are the new king of active noise canceling earbuds. If you're looking for a wired alternative to the Apple AirPods, these are the brand new KZ Duet headphones. I've been on a big kick testing different wired headphones and IEMs lately. It has been an absolute pleasure. Such good deals to be had if you're focused on sound quality above all else and don't mind some wires. KZ is normally focused on in-ear monitors with the shape and form factor. These are definitely through and through regular traditional headphones. They use dual dynamic drivers. You have an 8mm driver for the mids and the highs and a 10mm, they call it a super stroke bass driver. In their marketing materials, they talk about EQing these both for music listening, but also for gaming with an emphasis on footsteps with that bass driver. In practice, I think this works pretty well. I'm not entirely sure what, gaming EQ looks like. It's a little bit out of my depth in terms of testing, but I did test them out playing Counter-Strike 2 and they worked pretty well for that, and they definitely sound good for music. You have a few different options for how to wear these. I have these full silicone tips that go in that provide a much better seal. That's how I've been testing and using them mainly, but you can also take these off completely, or they have another option that's just the tip without the additional extension bud. Testing out all of the different options for how to wear these, you can definitely tell that they were designed for these full silicone tips, at least in my opinion. It's definitely where they sound best, to the point where I probably wouldn't recommend them if you don't want to use this tip form factor. Without that strong seal, I thought they sounded a little thin and tinny, but wearing them with the tips, I thought they sound really great. You know, the bass is pretty boomy, but somewhat controlled. You have really solid mids, and the highs have a ton of presence. Definitely a V curve here. I really loved how the vocals came through. It's also not really relevant, but I wanted to note they are very loud. I've been wearing these and using them in like a 10 to 30% range. They get very loud, so they must be extremely easy to drive. The inline mic sounds okay. The overall build quality is really good. I love this translucent black, resin shell that they have. If you really don't like that enveloping feel, the IEMs, I think these are perfect, but there are some other options. I'll be sure to link some alternatives below. Almost forgot to mention too, as a little bonus, I've been using this Pioneer Carry Zen Zip. It's this little tiny pouch. It is the perfect IEM pouch or any kind of wired headphone pouch. Definitely worth checking out if you're someone that carries wired headphones. Next up, we've got something new from MOFT. It's the Snap Field Wallet. MOFT was also kind enough to sponsor this week's video as well, so a huge thanks to them. Similar to my all-time favorite invisible tripod wallet, this is a MagSafe wallet for the back of your phone, but it has a much larger capacity. You open it up, you have a really strong magnetic flap enclosure for the main wallet opening, and inside you can hold up to 8 cards, which is really great. And the inside pull tab makes for much easier access to take out your cards or cash. In that little divider slot, you have a magnetic pocket. You can keep coins or keys. It is a really well thought out design. Definitely my favorite, full featured MagSafe wallet that I've ever tested. They have a couple of extra features here beside the wallet portion that I thought were really nice. If you do use physical SIM cards still, they have a little SIM card slot and a little SIM ejector tool slot, so you can keep those on the go if you're traveling. I thought that was a really nice touch. But most importantly, the tripod stand style still carries on. This flips out and you can use it as a little tripod, which is excellent. I always use these when I'm traveling. I mean, I use them most days as well. Like I said, the invisible tripod is my long-term favorite, but these are really great if you want to watch something on the plane, or if you want to watch something in your hotel room. I use this all the time when I'm cooking, but they're also really good for like Zoom calls or any sort of impromptu thing where you need to set your phone up. Just super nice to have it accessible without any additional work on your part or extra gear that you need to carry. Ton of good color options. This terracotta color is definitely my favorite. And if you don't need the extra capacity for the Snap Field Wallet, they still have the OG invisible tripod wallet. This thing is awesome, my long-term favorite. They just released this new orange color, which is really cool and definitely my new favorite. They have a bunch of new color options with the new iPhone 17 cases. Those are really great too. Be sure to check those out. Links will be down in the description. Huge thanks again to MOFT for sponsoring this week's video. Got a couple of batteries up next. First up is the SHARGE Retractable 3-in-1 power bank. This is a 10,000 milliamp hour power bank with the most incredible looking design I've seen in a very long time. When you first see it, it looks a little bit bulky for a 10,000 milliamp hour battery, but there are actually a ton of extra features built into this that I really love. First and foremost, you have a retractable cable, and not just any cable, it is a 2.3 foot long cable. This is so unheard of for these types of batteries with built-in cables. You usually get a few inches. Really cool to see that they put like a proper full-fledged cable in here. And this retracting mechanism looks awesome, but is also just really functional. It also sits completely flush and flat on the side of the design. Really well thought out. In addition to that, you also have a little fold-out plug. You can use this as a 30-watt charging brick, or you can actually just charge the battery with this plug. Super cool design, really convenient. You have a USB-C cable here, so it charges 30 watts to the power bank itself for the 10,000 milliamp hour battery, but it'll also charge your devices up to 30 watts. Whether it's from the built-in cable or the USB-C port, you get 30 watts both ways. Also, when you power it on, you can see there's a little dot matrix display here. It's really similar to their Pixel 140 charging brick that I've been testing out. Really cool and sleek design. They could put a little display on there, but that is just such a fun and flashy way to do it. Measures 4.3 inches by 2 inches by 1.6 inches. It weighs 10.5 ounces or 300 grams. This is a really great combination of both form and function. I really love the design style, but it also works and functions really well. All around a really solid pickup, I think, if you're looking for an all-in-one option like this. As an alternative to the Charge, you have the brand new Nitecore NB Plus power bank. This is essentially a beefed up, rugged version of the long-time NB 10,000 power bank from Nitecore. You have 10,000 milliamp hours of capacity, that's 38.5 watt hours. It weighs 155 grams, that is a 5 gram increase from the Gen 3 NB 10,000. But what you get for that 5 grams mainly is IPX7 water resistance. The NB 10,000 is IPX5. This bumps up to IPX7, so it can be submerged up to a meter for up to 30 minutes, which is pretty wild. You also have these rounded corners here that I think are going to hold up a lot better to drops. They're not necessarily rubberized, but they feel a little bit softer than the NB 10,000 edges. You have one USB-C and one USB-A port. You have 18 watts of charging for the battery, and then you have 22.5 watts of output from either port to your devices. So a little bit lower than a lot of other options on the market, but this is a very niche item. I think this is made for ultralight backpacking almost exclusively at this point, or any kind of ultralight travel where every gram matters. I love to see that they're catering to that though, as it's been so popular for so many years. I've personally been using the NB 10,000 line since its Gen 1, since I started backpacking. It's awesome. This is essentially a better version of that for my use case. Got a couple of slings to talk about. First up is the Reform ES01 sling. I was a huge fan of the Reform wallet when that came out, and I knew that this was coming at some point. It's been teased to me for a couple of years, and I'm so excited to finally have it in hand and test it out. It's a 1.2 liter capacity sling. It is extremely thin, only about 1 inch. It's 14 inches wide and 5.5 inches tall. It weighs 7 ounces and uses a coated ripstop nylon that's proprietary to them. They call it a Horizon fabric. The materials and the shape here definitely give it a strong tech wear type of vibe. It wears very close to your body, which I really like for travel. But then this material, it's going to be weather resistant and just has that sort of techie premium type of look. Most interesting thing about this sling though is the way that it opens. There's not actually a zipper for the main compartment. It uses something that they've coined MagnaSeal. You have these little reinforced edges along the main opening and they magnet together and magnet closed. It is a super strong closure. I've never had any issues worrying about it popping open or thieves getting in or anything like that. It's honestly a little bit too closed sometimes. We'll get into more of that later. The interior is extremely simple. You have 2 elastic pockets on the front side and a zippered pocket on the back with a key leash. This is kind of a phone wallet keys type of thing. It's very close to perfect for me, but there are a couple of things I'd like to see addressed. First and foremost, this main opening compartment, it's very satisfying to open and grab something, but it doesn't stay open very well. It's a small capacity bag, so you're not going to be doing a lot of digging or finding in there, but if you want to hold it open and look for something, it's kind of tough to keep open. That was something I noticed when I was using it. The only other real thing would be some additional colors. I've kind of moved personally away from the all black everything type of vibe. It only comes in black, which is a bit of a bummer. I'd love to see like an orange or a stone gray or bone type of color. I think it would still keep that same tech type of aesthetic that they're after, but give a little bit more flexibility for all of us. That being said, really cool, feels really premium, and is such a unique design. Got another sling up next if you need a little bit more capacity. This is the modern Dayfarer 2 liter sling. I've been testing this out for a little while, but I've actually been testing out the modern Dayfarer backpack for even longer. Video should be coming on that sometime soon, but I really wanted to talk about this sling bag again. Similar to the last one, it is very unique and really well done. The bag measures 12 inches wide, 6.5 inches tall, and about 2 inches thick. It claims a 2 liter capacity, but it definitely feels a little bit more like 3 or 3.5 liters. I mean that in a good way. You can store a lot more in here than you might think. Crazy enough, similar to the Reform sling, this actually has a main compartment opening without any kind of zippers. This uses the Fidlock stripe magnet system. It has this magnetic clasp closure that you can use in a few different positions depending on how full you have your bag. It works so well and it makes it so convenient to get in and out of. The interior has just the right amount of organization, I think, too. You have one large pocket on the back side here with two front half pockets on the inside of that. You have a zipper pocket on the other side, as well as a key leash if you want to attach your keys in. I would love to see an additional pocket on the exterior back side. I always love these back zippered pockets, and a lot of times they're called quick access pockets. You don't really need that here because it's quick access, but just for organizational purposes, having something back here I think is really nice. Also a little bit more secure if you want to keep your wallet back here too. I love this green color though. It comes in green and black. The material is a recycled 420D nylon fabric. You have no external branding on here, which I really loved as well. Gaudy logos can sometimes, mess up designs a little bit. You have a fidlock enclosure for the strap, which was a really great touch. Overall, for a relatively new company and a small company, I think they're doing great work here. I've been really enjoying testing this out, and I should have a video about their backpack coming at some point soon too. Next up, we have the HEST Pro travel pillow. This is unlike any other travel pillows I've tested before. We've had quite a few over the years, and it's always kind of hit or miss whether or not to bring one and whether or not the features or designs really work out well. I thought this one was definitely worth talking about here. I'm familiar with HEST for their camping gear and stuff. They make mattresses and camping pillows that are really good quality, so I was curious to see how the travel variant would be, and I'm really impressed with the overall design. It is a 3-in-1 type of pillow. Pull it out of the travel pouch and you're left with this really long pillow here. You have the option to use it in 3 different ways. First and foremost, the traditional neck type of style. I really like this as a neck pillow because it is so big and beefy. You can kind of use your shoulder and sleep on your side really easily. It's not usually the case with most sort of like donut neck pillows. You also have the option to tuck it into itself, and you're kind of left with a traditional sized, smaller, like camping travel pillow if you want to use it when you get to your destination. But you can also kind of just leave this open and you have a 28-inch long body pillow. Inside is a mix of memory foam and a poly blend fill. I think it feels really nice. It doesn't flatten out to nothing, but it's not overly firm where it's going to cause any headaches or neck pain. The exterior material here is a stretch nylon that feels super soft and comfortable. I really love that the travel case is incorporated in and attached, so you don't need to worry about losing it or anything like that. This is also removable and washable separate from the inner fill layer, so I really like that aspect of it too. So this is my favorite design for a travel pillow and the most comfortable travel pillow I've used, but it definitely comes at a cost. Even packed up in the travel pouch, it's still pretty bulky. It measures 9 inches by 8 inches by 6 inches. That is not insignificant when you're trying to pack a bag, especially if you're like us and usually do carry-on only. So that's something to consider. It's also pretty heavy. It weighs 620 grams or 22 ounces. Again, that is not nothing and definitely worth considering if you're packing on a really tight space trip. It also retails for $90, which is definitely steep for a travel pillow, but compared to, home memory foam pillows, it's not out of the realm of normal. So I can kind of give it a pass for that. But the size and weight are definitely something that might make you hesitate to bring this along. I know it does for me, but that's just kind of all travel pillows in general. If I was going on a really long international flight, this is probably something I would bring with me, but for shorter flights where I don't necessarily want it for the plane, it's probably going to stay at home. It's definitely going to be coming with me for camping though, and I'm really impressed with the overall quality. So if you're a big travel pillow person, this is the best I've ever tried. To add on a little bit of a bonus section here, I mentioned earlier when talking about the AirPods that I went on a flight out to Virginia and DC. That was actually for an event with GL.iNet to see some newly released products and upcoming products for the travel routers and modems and some KVMs. Really cool stuff. It was a pleasure getting to go out there and meet some of the team. I've been using and loving their products for a bunch of years. Really cool to see what they have in the works too. A lot of fun options. I'm really curious to test out some of the remote KVMs. I was talking to some other folks there, and the ways people are using them are unbelievable. I have my Slate 7 travel router that I've been bringing with me everywhere lately, but they actually just released and announced a Barrel 7. So that is a Wi-Fi 7 version of their lower price point Barrel router. Really cool. Maybe we'll get our hands on that to test out sometime when it is ready, and a few other newly released tease type of items that I'm hoping to get my hands on. So it was really cool to see that. It was also my first time in DC, and I got a really great test in with some of this travel gear. So I was glad that everything lined up the way it did. So more to come on that stuff soon. But on that note, that is the end of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear what travel gear you're bringing with you on your next trip. Where are you going? I'm planning several different trips right now, and I'm really excited to getting back into the swing. I usually stay home during the summer as much as I can to enjoy our Pacific Northwest summer months because they are incredible. On that note though, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.